Hey again. Welcome to my channel if you're new here, and thank you to all of my subscribers. I'm so grateful for you. Today I thought it would be, I don't know about fun, but I thought I would share my ADHD diagnosis and how I finally got it, and that path and like signs that it was there. But it's also Women's History Month next month in March, and so because I'm a woman, I was diagnosed late, and this is going to be in the March issue of Authentic Insider magazine, which you can find in the link in the description. I wanted to also highlight why it is that women and girls are underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, things like that, and why diagnosis was important for me, and what it helped me ultimately realize, and how it helped my mental health. So here are my brand new Himi paints, gouache paints, and I'm just unboxing it for the first time with you now. It came with this nice palette, all these colors that were kind of a mystery because this was a gift. I did ask for it, but still. Came with 3 nice brushes and lots of nice paint. So I'm going to start popping out the paints, unwrapping them, and you'll see all of these paints just beautifully falling down into place. And we can continue our convo about ADHD while you watch this satisfying video of paint color. That's one of my favorite things about ADHD, at least in my mind, is that we're creative people. We think outside the box, and stretching my creative brain is just the best. So you can tell in these videos I'm doing so many different types of media, like resin and gouache and collagraphs, printmaking. I like to mix it up with art, and I hope you enjoy that about the videos too. So anyway, I just want to say this is a shame-free, judgment-free zone. Like, I was so much more ashamed before my diagnosis of my shortcomings because I couldn't explain them. And that's basically, that mind shift kind of turned everything around for me, just having a name for it, an explanation, a community. I didn't feel so alone or weird/crazy, so it really helped. Okay, so a little bit about my story. I had depression symptoms and anxiety as a teen, and I was easily diagnosed clinical depression, and I would see a therapist, and I tried antidepressants. There was always side effects like lethargy, but it just like didn't fully turn anything around. And I think like if the signs had been recognized for ADHD, I think a lot of my depression probably came from feeling so different from everyone else, and not being able to achieve goals very easily, having trouble with homework and with school. And I remember, my parents trying to help me with homework and studying, and I'd be like upside down in the chair even when I was a little older. So when something was difficult in school or I wasn't interested in it, it was like pulling teeth to get me to, work on it. And I would read and like not really be present with the reading, and then I'd have to reread. So there were things like that. And I did jump around from friend group to friend group, never quite feeling like I belonged anywhere. And this is one of the reasons women and girls are underdiagnosed, is I think like the world has this stereotypical view of ADHD being a hyperactive boy bouncing off the walls. And I was sort of hyper, but I wasn't doing like not enough to raise a red flag. But often for girls, it's more of the introspective type of ADHD, like the inattentive, daydreaming, things like that, which I definitely did. I remember staring out the window in class in high school. And so yeah, like when we're thinking of ADHD, we need to stop just thinking of the boy, typical hyperactive boy that's jumping around and distracting everybody. Because that hyperactivity, I've learned, can also be internal with your thoughts racing, which I did experience, and I'm medicated now, but it still happens. Like overwhelm is almost a daily struggle. Things slow down sometimes, but it's just like a lot. I put a lot on my own plate. I put a lot of pressure on myself. So anyway, so yeah, like the hyperactivity could be more internal. It could be thoughts that are going. And then, okay, so diagnosed with depression, I tried different types of antidepressants. A few years ago, I guess it was 5 years ago, maybe 6, I started seeing a new psychiatrist, and he gave me like a questionnaire, and it was long, but it was just one session, and we didn't talk about much else, and he had hardly gotten to know me, and he diagnosed me bipolar. And I don't know, like, I did have family members say, like, that doesn't sound right. And I thought because of other reasons, he was right, and I was just on like a milder end of it, because it was bipolar 2. And I later learned that was a misdiagnosis, but there are some things that sort of mirror, and I've heard many times that women are falsely diagnosed bipolar when it's actually ADHD. One of the major symptoms of ADHD that nobody really talks about is emotional dysregulation and having a hard time, handling emotions, knowing what to do with them. I did have way more struggles with that pre-diagnosis, and like the shame that came from like an explosive outburst of like not being able to handle my anger or frustration or whatever, and then exploding, and then the shame and guilt of it after, and feeling like I'm horrible would like send me into depression. So that's what I think of when I think of, my experience of emotional dysregulation. And thank God I've been able to work through a lot of that and be more even. So I experienced that, and it was kind of horrible because I was taking Latuda for bipolar, and I didn't tolerate it very well at all. I was pregnant, and I would throw up every single night regardless. And I don't know why I kind of get upset with myself, because I should have said something. I should have gone off it sooner, but I did, I guess. So when knew I was going to be moving, I went to a new psychologist office with psychiatrists there too, which is where I still am, and readdressed my diagnosis, and they said that no, it's not bipolar, it's ADHD. And I kind of had done some research, and I came to them saying, hey, I filled out, I looked at this ADHD quiz online, and it seemed to check out, like, everything seemed like me. And they have one for women specifically, and that helped me kind of see that women present it a little differently. And we just need to get up to speed. The experts in the field and clinicians need to get up to speed with how women are diagnosed, because I know that this is such a hot topic right now that a lot of people are getting diagnosed, and then a lot of moms get diagnosed when their kids are diagnosed, because it's like all the same issues coming back. So that's kind of the progression of my diagnoses. So I went from clinical depression, anxiety, to bipolar, to ADHD, and the medication, if I'm going solely off of medications, I've never felt more stable. Okay, one of the most noticeable effects of taking a stimulant medication that I found, started taking it, it was the first time I could actually turn my thoughts into coherent sentences that made sense to other people. Like, amazing. Okay, so besides having access to medication that works, being diagnosed was super helpful, because I finally felt like I wasn't the only one. I never knew what was wrong with me. I just knew that everything was harder, especially school, work, things that I didn't necessarily want to do. So I feel like if I had the diagnosis earlier, I could have learned to manage things better, and not had so many quote-unquote failures that really affected my self-esteem, my sense of self-worth, and my confidence. So and I know how hard it is to get diagnosed, especially in other countries like Australia and England, and I don't know about any others, but I know it's particularly hard. There's like years long waiting lists and things like that. So if that's you, I feel for you, and I hope, I just wish there were more resources. Things that I tend to struggle with now about estimating how long something takes, and so now I try to like give myself double the time. Starting something is hard, but transitioning is even harder, and I think that's why I get stuck in a step, like painting this forest scene. I should have a lot of times waited for the paint to dry, but like I didn't want to stop. I was just like content in my hyper focus world. And so it was hard for me to step away, work on other things. So yeah, so like time blindness, and it definitely shows up in when I'm in hyper focus, like the time just like warps and goes so fast, or slow. It depends on what I'm doing, but if it's something I enjoy that I'm hyper focused on, definitely, yeah, and I forget what I was saying. Oh, hyper focus, yeah. Time blindness, yeah. So I also struggle with motivation. I know motivation is a tricky thing, and getting started and just doing it is conjures up more motivation. So I try to do that, but like sometimes I'll need the sense of urgency. So I'm working on something like right before I need to turn it in, or even like I create a sense of urgency. This is weird, but like if I have to pee, I'll like do some chore really fast, or I'll like if I'm already doing some art thing, I'll like or tidy some place up. It's usually cleaning. Like I'll tidy something up really quick because I have the urgency to pee and it gets me to do it. Like what? It's weird. So I don't know if anyone relates to that one, but like I use the sense of urgency. I didn't realize I was doing it until very recently. Um, yeah, so there's that. Like I really need the sense of urgency to push myself forward. I'm gonna have to make a series because I could just go on and on. I do want to talk about the paints though. Like I love this paint because of how forgiving it is. Gouache is like a marriage between watercolor because you can reactivate it with water, and acrylics because you can layer it nice and thick and correct mistakes, and I love that dry and layering. So I'm really excited about my new gouache. I've never really used it. So you're seeing me figure it out in this painting for the first time, which is kind of cool and very vulnerable. I did a few warm-up paintings, but yeah, this is like my first real go at it. So I'm excited to do more, and let me know if you like this format of me chatting while a painting comes to life. I don't even think I'm done with this one, but like I said, definitely more ADHD / gouache videos to come. Please leave a comment. I'm so grateful you're here. Leave me a comment if anything resonates. I want to create the sense of community here, so let me know what you think, what you're thinking, if you relate to anything I'm talking about, if you have any questions, anything like that. And don't forget to subscribe so you can see when my next video comes out. Get that. It's easier for me anyway with my ADHD brain that when it just pops up. So hit the subscribe, and I can't wait to see you next time. So much love.